Label Radio.
Classic hip hop from the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, right here on Dash Radio. My name is Mellow One. We got DJ Nails on the 1 and 2s, and we have a special guest in the building.
What's good? What's good?
My man B-Real.
How you doing?
I'm good, man. What's up with you?
It's good to be here, man.
Yo, I've been harassing Nails for the last year to get you on, but you've been like all over the world touring and whatnot.
Ooh, yeah, I mean, he has been hitting me up for sure, you know.
Okay.
And you know, I was telling him, yeah, when I get some time, I'm gonna go do that for real.
Okay.
And finally, you know, after all the traveling and stuff like that, I was able to slow it down and come down and get on.
That's dope. That's dope. Right? Exactly.
It's dashing it dash.
It's dashing it dash. So you guys went all over the world recently. How does it feel to still get that love? You guys did like stadiums, 30, 40,000 people. How does it feel?
You know, it still feels good because you know that people still appreciate the music out there and they're still reacting to it. And you see a different sort of fan base where there's older fans that are like our age and even older than us, than our generation. And you see the fans get younger and younger because that you know, our generation passes the music down when you go overseas, you know, whether it's Australia, whether you go to Europe, whether you go to even, you know, like South America, the appreciation is different. You know, out here we live with it. It's a part of our culture now. So, you know, it's like we get it all the time. We're used to it, but you know, they appreciate it on a different level because they don't have it all the time. So when we go out there and we play these shows, it's just like it's the first time we've ever played, you know, a gig there or something. Yeah. That's the reaction. Like people just go ape shit, and it's really fun to still see people reacting like that.
What's your favorite place to go to?
Well, you know, it's hard because, you know, we've been so many places so many times, and they've been showed love throughout, you know, our history of being Cypress Hill and even into my solo stuff. But it, you know, I would say Russia's probably one of the most unique places I've been, that like they have such a deep appreciation for hip hop that it's crazy. You just wouldn't know it until you go there.
That's crazy.
And they go crazy, shit crazy over there.
If America kicked you out today, where would you go live?
I don't know.
You probably never been asked that question before, have you?
Yeah, I'd probably, you know, there's several places that I would consider.
I'm sure Amsterdam would be one of them, huh?
No, maybe. Yeah, Holland. Maybe Spain and Barcelona.
Yes, dope.
Or maybe even England. But yeah, I don't know. It probably, yeah, between or Australia.
Okay.
Australia. You know what I'm saying? Any one of them places, because Australia is much like California. It's laid back. The weather's great all the time, even when it's supposed to be bad.
Nice.
You know what I'm saying? I mean,
it was like 80 degrees today out here, right?
Yeah. So, you know, Australia is probably like, you know, the best choice.
Nice. Nice.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of places. Switzerland always shows love. Switzerland's cool too.
So you got options.
Got options.
Nice. So let's take it back. We just, on our Instagram, we posted a picture of Sin Dog, and we do like fun facts or whatever. And we posted a picture, and it said that you gave Sin Dog his first joint, and then he replied back and said, no, I actually gave B-Real his first joint ever.
Yeah, that's well, not my first joint. Well, yeah, maybe it was my first joint. Yeah. Yeah, you know, I got high a few times with some other guys before I met up with Sin Dog and them, you know, but we were hitting bongs. You know, I didn't know nothing about joints then. I didn't even know we were smoking weed, really, to tell the truth, you know. I was hanging out with these rock kids because I listened to rock, you know, and oldies at that time. I didn't really know what hip hop was yet. And those kids, you know, that were into the rock shit, they'd be hitting, you know, weed in the bongs. So, you know, it was a little green acrylic bong with the metal bowl, the whole shot. And I was taking little bong hits, and I was young as fuck, man.
How old were you?
I must have been like 13 years old.
Damn.
And I stopped. Once I moved out, you know, moved to a different place because I was from East LA, and then I moved over to Southgate, which is, you know, kind of, it's southeast, but not as far east as East LA. And that's when I met Sin Dog and his brother and a few other cats in that city of Southgate. And I hadn't smoked for, you know, a minute until I met those guys. And then, you know, Send Dog hit me with the first joint I ever smoked. And it was pretty much a wrap from there.
The rest is history, right?
The rest is history, yeah.
So, like, you guys, your group is the first Latin group to go platinum and multi-platinum.
Yeah.
How does that feel? How did it feel when you actually got that platinum plaque? What did it mean to you?
We didn't even know there was like a record like that, you know, because we were so far removed from anything like that. We were just trying to do music and you know, making music that people liked, as opposed to worried about the accolades. Because, you know, I didn't even think about, you know, whether people were gonna like it or not. I was just like stoked that we were able to be making music from where we came from where I came from, to be able to make music. You know, I was just happy about that. So when all the other stuff came and, you know, like we started, you know, having these achievements happen through our music that, you know, people were saying, oh, you guys are the first to do this or the first to do that. And we were like just tripping off of that shit, you know, because it's not something that any of us envisioned when we were doing the music, you know what I mean? So it was great to have that achievement. But, you know, when we were talking to the label and how we were to be marketed, we wanted to make sure that we weren't put in a category as Latin rappers, because we knew that at that time there wasn't a fan base or a, you know, there wasn't a group of people that liked Latin hip hop at that time. It didn't exist. So we wanted to be, I mean, it existed for Kid Frost and for Mellow Man Ace, but, you know, there was not really a big market for it, and we knew that. So we were like, we wanted to be marketed as just a hip hop group, and we left all the other stuff out. We knew what we were, and we didn't want to exploit that. And we did music here and there to, you know, let people know and flavor it up with the Latin flavor. But we didn't go out of our way, and we told them, hey, listen, we want to be specific about this, because we don't want to get pigeonholed in any sort of stereotype. Yeah. And rappers were, you know, Latin background, were getting that. You know what I mean?
So was it a conscious effort? Because one thing that I impressed me, I'm LA dude, born and raised or whatever, and usually when you heard or when you seen Latin artists, they didn't really spit like the hip hop to golden era guys. So the production for Muggs was like on the level of Premier and the rest of that, and you guys are spitting like Public Enemy or anybody else. You wasn't doing like East LA rap. Was it a conscious effort to say, you know what, we're not going to be Kid Frost, Little Rob,
exactly, because we didn't rap like that anyway. You know, we were more East Coast influenced. We listened to all the East Coast hip hop, but we also listened to LA hip hop with Ice-T and, you know, all the guys in that era, and then eventually NWA and all that stuff. We listened to all that, but we grew up listening to the East Coast hip hop. So we had a, you know, sensibility about us that was like an East Coast driven type of thing. And when we did our thing, we didn't sound like a West Coast group, because we didn't want to sound like what everybody else was doing, which was a lot of gangster shit at the time. We wanted our shit, our content, to be gangster, or what the life we were living, like, you know, that the life that we lived, we wanted to portray it to some degree, but we didn't want to portray it to how everybody else was doing, because we felt like everybody was knocking NWA off and stuff like that. Yeah, and we didn't want to be perceived as one of those groups. So, you know, fortunately, Muggs being from the East Coast, he had that influence, and we took West Coast content and slang, mixed it with East Coast slang and production, and that's what made up the Cypress Hill sound. That's what made up the you know, the writing, the concepts, everything, you know, and it all fell together in a different sort of way that made it distinct. And it didn't sound like any other Latin rapper, you know, because we didn't want to sound like that. We didn't want to have that accent. We didn't want to use what Kid Frost was using or what Mello was using, because we knew that a lot of people were going to be like, oh, those are just copies of these two guys, because those guys were the front runners, the godfathers of that whole style. And we just wanted to be a hip hop group and do our own thing. So we you know, stood away from that shit and just sprinkled it up a little bit. And, you know, that helped us, because we didn't over exploit what we were, you know.
And that's the reason why I got involved with you guys. I just told a story before you came on how I was in the middle of Louisiana nowhere, and I went to Sam Goodies and I just picked albums from covers, and I picked the cover of Cypress Hill, and and I put it in. I'm like, these dudes are dope, and I didn't know until after I got into the group that you guys were from A, Southgate, and B, Latin, because of the music. It was just it was just music. It was great music.
Right, and you know, for the most part, we just tried to make it hip hop.
Yeah.
You know, we had Latin roots and we did do those songs here and there, but we didn't overdo it. And we didn't want to shove it down people's throats.
Yeah.
Well, you know, because we got signed, believe it or not, and most people probably don't even know this, that, you know, the basis of our recording contract, it was based off of the fact that Sendog rapped in Spanish. They loved that shit. They were like, oh, we got to do something with this. And, you know, our whole deal was based off that song, but we only did one song in Spanish on the album, and everything else was like regular hip hop shit. And, you know, it threw them for a loop, but they kind of seen that we had like a goal in mind, that we had a sound in mind, and we weren't going to really break from it. And we were just going to roll the dice. And they, you know, for Sony's credit, they believed in what we were doing. And, you know, they did everything they could do to market us to every market, and not just the Latin market. So that's why we were able to outreach to different places.
That's dope. That's dope. Let's get into some music real fast. Take a break, and then we'll come back. Let's get into your alias.
Right.
Dr. Green Thumb. Let's get into that joint right there that started the whole little movement, right?
Right. I can't be mad. Let's go.
My man B-Real in the building, DJ Nails on the 1 and 2, White Label Radio. White Label Radio, classic hip hop from the 80s, 90s, early 2000s. My name is Mellow One, DJ Nails on the 1 and 2s, and that was the song that started it all, right?
Right. Yeah. Dr. Green Thumb.
Where did that whole thing come from?
Well, we were working on that album, I believe it's Cypress 4, something like that.
Yeah.
And I came to the studio, I heard that beat, and it was before anybody got there. Muggs hadn't been there yet, because I had a tendency to go early. I didn't like most rappers, even today, like they like working late into the night, like 3, 4 in the morning, and go home at 5 and 6, wake up at 2, 3, 4 o'clock. I can't fuck around like that, man. You know, so I learned to work early, like get up, get to the studio by 11, be out by 6.
Okay.
You know? So that was my grind for that time. It's changed, and I've altered it, you know, through the course of doing work. But at that time for that album, I was doing it like that. And I came in before everybody was there. And the engineer was already there, because he knew I had a tendency to go early, and he knew I was going to want to fuck with something before everybody got there. And he played me the beat that Muggs had made the night before, which was the Dr. Green Thumb beat. And, you know, he played it. I told him to loop it. And within, 45 minutes, I had like the first half of the song like done. Like I was like, oh, shit, I got the chorus for this. Once I got the chorus, the verses came pretty quickly. You know what I mean? So I was probably done with that song in about maybe an hour or 15 minutes. Usually it takes some time to write a song. You know, if you're vibing and it's just flowing, it could take 20 minutes maybe. You know what I mean? But some songs, you know, roll out faster than others, and that one was one of them. You know what I mean? The beat just struck me. I was like, oh shit, I know exactly what I want to do with this. And the funny thing about that song is that the Sony wanted to make me change it and make it more radio friendly, because they thought it could be another Insane in the Brain type of big hit.
Okay.
And I was adamant about not changing it. I was like, we already have an Insane in the Brain. This is what I wrote for this. This is going to be, you know, a good song.
So they wasn't feeling Dr. Green Thumb at all?
Not as a single, but we fought for it to be a single. We were like, this is going to be a big song.
So after you recorded it, what was the first reaction from the guys when they first came in at midnight or whenever? What was the reaction?
So what happened was the Sony radio people, the people that worked radio, they could not get it sold anywhere. Like the radio would not play the shit, because at the time, you know, it was very taboo for them to be playing anything talking about weed references. So thing about Cypress Hill, we didn't get a lot of radio play. We sold records off of doing shows and some MTV play early before they shut down MTV Raps. And you know, our grind was very specific. We didn't have a lot of radio songs, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And because of the content, like the weed shit. These days, they'll play the weed shit, no problem.
Of course.
But back then, they would not. And so we stuck to our guns with the Dr. Green Thumb shit. And, you know, certain stations played it, like Power 106. Shout out to Power 106 for that, because they played it. They played it more than the radio station I was actually working at the time, at the 92.3 The Beat. We had Soul Assassin Radio jumping off there.
Yeah.
And, it was pretty embarrassing that the competition was playing
That's crazy.
more than our shit, because Sony was not buying radio spots, like, like promotional spots.
Yeah.
So it was perceived that they weren't getting behind the record by a lot of radio stations, so they didn't see fit to put it in rotation, and they thought it was taboo. So they didn't really support it. But in doing the shows and seeing the reaction on how this song played out when we did the show, it became one of our underground fucking anthems. Like when this song comes on, people go ape shit, like Insane in the Brain.
Yeah.
And, I'm glad I didn't change it, because that song is still one of our most powerful songs to perform today. And it's,
it's your alter ego now.
It's an alter ego that we made up from that song.
So who came up with the video concept?
Well, the video concept, it was by my good friend Estevan Oreo. We had the character. It was just, well, what was the character going to do? Because we can't portray weed in there. They won't play it. And then here, Sony won't pay for it, because if they ain't going to get a video they can't play, why pay for it? And at that time, getting the video played for Cypress Hill anywhere was a hard sell, because they knew because of the content, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, they put this weird looking plant in there that looked like a fly trap, Venus fly trap in there, and it's supposed to be like, it's not weed, but it's weed, because we're talking about weed in the song, but in the video it's not weed. So that was the way we did to compensate and get around and try to get the shit played. But the character, Dr. Green Thumb itself, it evolved through, merch that we put out. I created this logo with the skull, with the weed afro that was based off of our first Cypress Hill logo. I just added the weed leaf afro behind it.
Yeah.
And I decided to call that character Dr. Green Thumb, and then it eventually developed into like an actual character, not just a skull with the afro, but the body, the
lab coat, the whole
lab coat, the whole thing. And I decided when I did the Dr. Green Thumb video that I would mimic that to some degree, and just do it kind of off the hook, and it became something for us. I threw events under that moniker, the Dr. Green Thumb brand. We threw the Dr. Green Thumb spring gathering with Tommy Chong. We did a lot of things where we're still continuing to do a lot of work with the Dr. Green Thumb brand right now. I have a glass line called Dr. Green Thumb Glass Works. We have a Santa Ana dispensary that we're planning to open.
You stay busy. I follow you on Instagram, and I'm like, this dude stay busy. Plus, you got B-Real TV and all the rest of that stuff. You're active.
Yeah, and on the 18th, I'll be putting out the Dr. Green Thumb, the Prescription album. So, the doctor's been busy, man.
The doctor's, and just imagine if you listen to the record label, it wouldn't be none of this going on right now.
Nah, man. I'm glad I didn't change it, because if I had changed it, none of this, the alter ego and the brand that comes, with that, and all the things that I've been able to do as Dr. Green Thumb, that doesn't exist if I had changed that song. So I'm glad I didn't. Shit.
So let's switch gears a little bit. And I've always wanted to ask you this, and I wanted to ask SynDawg too. Why doesn't SynDawg rap more on Cypress Hill projects? Was it a conscious thing to say, well, we want you to be kind of like the hype man, the Flavor of the group, or was it just kind of something that organically happened?
I think in the beginning it was, supposed to be him and I flipping it back and forward, almost like a Run DMC-ish type style.
Yeah.
But the way that Muggs crafted the production, it put me in the lead spot for some reason, and by the Temple of Boom, there was like a disconnect with how Sen felt about doing hip hop and how making music with us at the time, and he needed a break, so he went on a hiatus. And if you notice on the Temple of Boom album, he's not so much on that album.
Yeah,
he comes back to the fold after that album, where he's on more songs, and progressively, there's more songs with SynDawg on him. But that was, him reacclimating back into the hip hop and back into coming with us and then doing a new sound with us with the rock shit, which was very much his forte, which he likes very much. I mean, he's very passionate about the rock shit. And, he came in full force when we were starting to do that stuff. And that's when he brought himself back into the fold. And now he's, like working more with hip hop the way he used to.
Will he, in this new album that you guys are working on, will he rap more?
Yeah, I believe so. He's like on the Rise Up album that we put out before this one. He did a lot of work on that one.
Okay.
Demrick was on that with us, and whatnot, and he fucking came back with a passion. I thought to myself that was probably the best I've heard Sen Dog in a long time on some hip hop shit. Like the way he came back on that Rise Up album. A lot of people slept on that album. Came out on the MI Records. They didn't really know how to market Cypress Hill too much. I think they didn't know how to market the hip hop side of us. They knew we were, edgy enough to be on the rock shit, and I think it just got lost in translation up there. So, real like hardcore Cypress Hill fans know about that album, but like the masses never really got it. But if you listen to that album, Sen Dog is really fucking spitting on that one.
I'm going to go back and listen to the albums and see what it's all about.
Yeah, and this one, we're taking a different approach because that album wasn't produced by Muggs. That was produced by a few different producers and myself. I took the helm of doing the production on that one. And, we made an effort to like get him on more songs and like, showcase his skill level and talent that maybe people hadn't seen in years because he wasn't on as many songs that, throughout the years, you know what I'm saying? But, Muggs has a technique and a style in which how, he puts songs together. So I haven't heard none of the album that we've recorded yet.
It's top secret?
It's top secret. Because I don't pull music out of the studio when I work with Muggs. I don't ask for it.
You do your part. You let him cook it up, and then when it's done, he's
doing an album with Muggs is very much like doing a movie. You went in there and did a scene. You don't know how that scene is going to be till the editors and all put that shit together. And you're like, oh shit. That shit came out.
And you don't even ask about it. You know that he has a format and he's tried and true, so you let him do his thing.
Right.
And you know it's going to be dope.
Well, there's a level of trust because we've worked together so many years and we have a chemistry when we work together. And back in the day when we started, like our first sessions where we were actually paying for them, and signed where, we said we cannot get married to the first thing we laid down. Vocals, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Because in the end, it might change. So what we begin with is the foundation. What ends up is the end product. We'll decide when it's done whether we all like it or not. Yeah. And usually, because we all had the same taste in hip hop and in music and the way we wanted the shit to sound. So we knew Muggs, Muggs was a very competitive style producer. He wanted to be that dude.
He wanted to be the best. Yeah.
So we were like,
let him do his thing.
That's your thing. Go ahead.
So how does it feel like to be like among your peers as a guy that people fuck with? When people come like from Method Man to Primo to whoever, when they mention artists, you're in that conversation. How does it feel to give that love from your peers?
It feels good because it's not something that I ever thought that I would hear like that. Yeah, I never looked at myself like, an MC that people mention because, when you get all these crazy lists about the best MCs and, all that shit, usually rappers and groups get left out of that category. They're put in the group category.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So when other MCs and producers, mention me out and shout me out like that, it feels, it's a great feeling because, they're seeing me outside of the group. You know what I mean? I think, that they would fuck with me and ask me to be on their project or a feature of some sort. You know what I mean? And that lets me know that they're hearing me. It's not just the group thing, but they're hearing me as well. And that feels good as an MC, and as a writer and somebody who's been in the business for a long time. We all know that time is not a friend of the rapper.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Some rappers, you know, they hit a certain age and nobody's fucking with them because they have a certain mentality where they don't even want to fuck with the young folks. They think that shit is, you know, trash, or
they did it better back in the days.
It's a waste of time, or I could do it better, and this and that, and they get caught up in that shit. And I've never been one to get caught up in that, because the old school cats before me embraced us and told the other cats about us, and that's how we got put on. And you know, I gotta always remember that was done for me. So when these young cats are coming up, I open it I listen to with an open mind, and what I like, I'll tell people about it, and I'll fuck with it. And I ain't one of them salty ass old school dudes that, you know, oh, these motherfuckers ain't got shit on our school and blah, blah, blah. Hey, our school has been passed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's what
we laid the foundation for you guys to do what you do.
We laid the foundation, but it's about what you do now. And there's no bigger saying than this. And then you've heard it many times. It's cliche, but you're only as good as your last shit. So what have you done lately?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So the days of selling millions of records for a lot of rappers are over, but it doesn't mean that your profile still ain't like you're the fucking shit, because these days we're giving away music, and that's big. People love that shit, you know, because people that have been around for us as long as we have, most of the time, everybody's thinking about the dollar. Let's fucking sell this record. And then they don't meet the expectations. And then, fuck this game. This game sucks. It's dead. Blah, 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 blah. You just got to know how to maneuver with it.
You got to adapt to it.
You got to adapt to it. And I've been one to always adapt to whatever's coming. Because Busta Rhyme, of all people, taught me this lesson.
Busta Rhymes.
He told me a long time ago, he goes, yo, son, B, my brother, you know, do some shit outside of Cypress Hill. All right, just do it, just so that you got other shit. And I didn't listen to him for a long time. I was like, man, Cypress Hill's my shit. What, you crazy? But I seen how he reinvented himself, and he always stood relevant. So I started like studying that, and I'm like, okay, well, Cypress Hill's my shit, and I'll always be a part of that, and I'll always give to it, and I'll always put 110% behind it. But yeah. What is to stop me from doing Green Thumb? And that's how it all started, and it was influenced by my man Busta Rhymes.
Nice. So Busta Rhymes gave you that motivation to get out there and do your solo thing.
And funny thing is, he was supposed to be on the remix for Green Thumb, you know, because we were going to do a remix for that, and he was going to be on it. And somehow with our, you know, because our label heads, Donnie Einer and Sylvia Rome, they didn't get along, so they didn't let us do it, but. You know, that was my boy, you know, and he told me that. He gave me that advice. I took the advice way late in the game, but it still worked out.
But you're running with it now.
I'm running with it like a motherfucker.
So let's take it back a little bit. You did a song that shocked the shit out of me, actually. De La Soul.
Yeah.
Peer Pressure.
Yeah.
That came out of left field. I'm a De La Soul fan. I didn't expect B-Real, this weed smoker, and De La Soul to get together. But when I heard it, I was like, this shit is dope.
You know, it was their idea, and those have been my friends for a long time. You know, we've done many shows together, and, you know, always, as rappers do in conversation, oh, man, let's fuck with each other. Let's do some songs.
Yeah, yeah.
And, you know, a lot of it never happens. But, you know, they talked about this song, and we're like, yeah, I'm in whenever. Let me know. And they send it over to me, and they even had like an outline, you know, like it was on some movie shit, so that I could stay within the parameters of what the song was. And I did that, and it was Peer Pressure, man, and it turned out to be a fucking banger. And you know, I had the pleasure of working with De La Soul, who was one of my favorite groups in hip hop, like, you know, the generation before us.
That's dope. So let's get into it right now. This is De La Soul featuring B-Real, Peer Pressure, White Label Radio, Dash Radio. My man Nails on the 1 and 2s. You know how we get down.
Word.
Classic hip hop. Let's do it.